What's up, y'all? It's your girl Shayla Raye, and I'm here with the one and only Taja V. Simpson. Hey, girl. Hi. We are so happy to have you on In Style Atlanta, and we're just so excited to learn more about you as the beautiful Black woman that you are.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, okay, let's just start at the beginning, because
Okay.
typically that's how I like to start.
Okay.
Tell us about your childhood growing up in a small town in Louisiana.
Okay. It's like, you want to just go right there.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning, so I'm from a place called Lake Charles, Louisiana, and we have a whopping good 65 to 70,000 people. So we're like the big city in the area, right? The small towns all come to us because we have them all. And, and like the casinos, we're like, something to do. But growing up, I was into everything. I was into sports. I played softball, basketball. I ran track. I was a cheerleader. I was a dancer. I excelled academically. I graduated high school at 16. I focused so much on my studies. And what really brought me to that is the surrounding, like the area, the culture. That's the word I'm looking for. The culture of the area that I was in. So I grew up in a time in Louisiana where the brown paper bag was very prevalent. And so we had something called the brown paper bag test. And what that means is if you are darker than the brown paper bag, then you're treated differently. You're not allowed into homes. A lot of different social norms are very differently. You're not afforded those same social norms. And you are just truly made to feel less than because of the color of your skin. And so growing up as a kid, I remember I used to sit in the tub and I would pray to God, and I would be like, if you could just make me the color in between my knuckles, like not too much, God, because I don't want you to make it so drastic because I don't want people to notice, but if you could just make me the color in between my knuckles, that's all I need, then people will like me, right? But the prayer, the earnest prayer of a young child to be lighter because the world around her is telling her she's less than because she's darker, it's like mind-blowing to even say, but that was real. That was my truth. So now my parents in the midst of this were very, you can do anything, you're amazing, you're worthy, you're awesome, they supported me in anything I can do. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna be the best at it. They were very much the most encouraging, amazing parents. All the kids in the neighborhood, because we didn't do the paper bag test, right? But all the kids in the neighborhood would always want to be at our home because they loved being around my family. However, there was one particular family member that was really deep into colorism, if you will. And so her name for me was E. Like, E.
Oh my gosh.
And she would call me ugly thing. So she would never say my name, Taja. She would say, E, she black, get off me, she black, E, don't let her touch me. Come here, ugly thing, come here. And hearing her say that even now, like how that vibrato comes out her voice, yelling ugly thing throughout the house, knowing she's talking about me and I have to get up and go see what she wants. It would just kill me every time, and it made me have this really, really low self-esteem. Like my self-esteem was completely under my shoe. Because although I had two people in the world that was telling me, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you can do anything, you are worthy, it was only two. Because when you go out into the world, right, whether you're at, I can't play with kids down the street because it's like, oh, you're too dark, you can't come in here. Like that was the culture. It was like watching a movie and it was a period piece. It's like that was it of its time. And so going everywhere and it was like the dichotomy of the people versus my parents. Because my people, my people, if you will, like my mom and dad are like, you're amazing, you're wonderful, but I'm sorry, my parents are like, you're amazing, you're wonderful, but the people and everywhere I went was telling me and showing me and making me feel as if I wasn't. So I had to learn, and this took a very long time. I mean, I didn't really get into the learning of this until I was in my 30s, until I got to my 30s, because I did not know I had to learn self-love. I did not know about the power of your words. I did not know all these different things that I learned along the way that allow you to see the woman that you see right now. But it took me a long, long, long time to get here. And so now I'm an advocate for your words are your wands, right? Yeah. One of my mantra is you speak life over your life. And so that's what I do, not only for myself, but everyone around me. My energy is always very positive, But I had to learn to get to be that way because I did not come from that type of energy that I grew up in.
And God bless your parents, because, you know, I mean, imagine if you didn't have that,
right?
You know, and you were experiencing the world, and you didn't come home to a place that was safe and nurturing. So I'm so grateful that you had parents that really poured into you and helped you along that journey. So you wrote a book.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about this book that you wrote and the ranking.
Yes, ma'am. So the book is called Women Who Shine, and it's about 30 different women came together, and we're all sharing these inspiring stories. And mine happened to be about the story that I just shared with you, like how I grew up with colorism and the brown paper bag test and all those things. And so it goes through, you know, me being an adolescent, me being a teen, me being in college. It goes through all those different areas and how I was able to overcome that. And it's called Women Who Shine. And when it came out, it ended up going #1 on Amazon, and it was an international best-selling book. So I am an international best-selling author now.
Oh my goodness! To add to everything else, I love it.
Right, you know, it's a true
accomplishment.
Thank you, thank you so much. It really is a true bruised but not broken story.
Yeah.
That was
Listen,
a word.
that was a word.
I felt that.
I felt that too. I felt that too.
You know, it was like, you know, now I can say, only now, obviously, and hindsight is always the best sight. But now I can say, you know, I was able to really take everything that I went through. But oftentimes when we're going through different things, we don't know why we're going through it. We don't know why God's allowing this. We don't know why, and all these different things, right? But now I know you can't live in that. You can't stay there.
You can't stay there.
Right? Someone else's perception of you does not have to be your reality. And that's what I believed. That's what I believed, because everything around me was telling me I was this other thing. But yet the will of me inside of me was like, but no, I want to do this and I want to do that. I'm not going to be able to do that. They're not going to let me do it. I'm too dark. Like, these are the conversations that I was having with myself. And oftentimes we all have these different self-talks, you know, where they're not going to cast me for that, or they're not going to hire me for that. I don't have enough experience, or they're not going to get me that. You know, we say one thing of what we desire and what we want, but then we counter that thought almost immediately sometimes.
So how do you manage that?
Yes.
What do you do?
Yes.
Sis? Because I mean, this is something the mind is such a powerful thing. And I tell people, I'm like, the two things that really, you know, just create our perception in life is our memory and our imagination.
That's it.
So changing that and having that mindset shift is just so important. But you're such an achiever. How did you do that?
Thank you. The practical daily steps, right? So a friend of mine introduced me to a book called The Wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn. Now, I was so enamored by this book. It had 4 books in one. It had The Game of Life, Your Words Are Your Wands, The Power of the Spoken Word. And as I was reading it, I was like, wow, she was really breaking down like scriptures in the Bible, or just things, practical things in life, in such a very real, practical way. It shifted my thinking. And I never really had anyone quite break it down for me in this way. That led me to gratitude, right? Writing a gratitude journal, being grateful every day, being grateful for everything. At the time, I didn't have any money. I'm broke. I'm like, so how I'm supposed to be grateful for? There's $30 in my account. Help me break that down for me. You know, but we have to find gratitude in everything, and I had to learn that the more grateful you are with what you have, no matter how minimal it may be, the more it will give you more of what you desire because of that level of gratitude. Oh, I'm not grateful. Okay, let me work on that. So I worked on my gratitude. That led me to affirmations. I had to learn that all these things that people were telling me my whole life, I took them on, I believed them, I said them to myself. You know, oh, they're not gonna cast me for this, I'm too dark. Oh, they want to lead. Oh, they're not gonna cast a dark-skinned girl lead. And I'd have things to back it up. Well, I haven't seen a lead, you know, dark-skinned girl in a romantic comedy. Well, I haven't seen a lead. You know, you have all these things that your brain tells you, but why not me?
Why not?
Hello?
Why not?
Why not me? So that led me to affirming myself in more of a positive way and not allowing the affirmations to be in a negative way, because people forget when all an affirmation is how you affirm yourself, what you say to yourself. You have to control the thoughts in your mind. The thoughts become things. So if I'm affirming negative things and that's showing up in my life, well, I said it, look how powerful I am. You're right. You did that.
You did
So
that.
then you have to shift it. So then that led me to doing my affirmations in the morning, specifically in the mirror. Now, mirror work for me was a little mind-blowing because I sat in that mirror and the first time I said to myself, you are worthy. Looking at myself. I got emotional. I'm about to get emotional right now, Jesus. The first time I looked at myself and I'm like, you are powerful. You are beautiful. I love you.
Girl.
I lost it. I literally cried. That was the first time I had ever looked at me and said this to me. That's when the shift started happening. So it was a daily, and it is a daily affirmation of affirming yourself. And one thing I want to point out, it's an energy shift. Yeah. It's momentum. Yeah. It's like planting. You want to plant something in good soil or bad soil. If you plant something in bad soil with all the negative thoughts you say to yourself and the negative thoughts that you're having about whatever, there's hard for that to grow. So then you can't look back and be like, well, I want this. Why this not happening? Well, what are you saying and thinking? But if you are concentrating on the positive soil and you're constantly planting that seed, instead of saying I'm broke, you're saying I'm prosperous. That I am prosperous is now you are planting that seed to become. It's constantly staying in that vibration. That vibration precedes the manifestation. Yes. But in order for that thing to manifest in your life, you have to be in this realm, right? So I learned to do that and I went all in. It's daily work. I started seeing the changes in my life. I started seeing the positive things in my life. I started seeing the people around me changing. I remember one day and when I commit to something, I'm going to commit. And this was working so much for me in my life. And so whenever I was around someone and this guy said, well, I know you don't like to speak negatively, so I'm not even going to say that. I'm just going to, let me find a better way to say it. And I was like, I didn't even know that my mere presence and how I speak made him correct himself. Made him correct himself.
You had no clue.
I had no clue, but it was in that moment that I was like, oh, wow, people are seeing that of me. They're recognizing that of me. Even my friends were like, oh, okay, Miss Positive, at the time we're not friends anymore, praise the Lord. But the ones that were around at the time didn't understand the shift, didn't get it, didn't know what was happening. And I was like trying to get everybody to come on this ship with me. I bought the book for 15 people. I'm gonna send it to you. I got a book for you. It's gonna change your life. If I told you could do this would change your life, would you do it? Hey, I got, and I would send it literally to them directly, 15. Only one did it. Only one. Only one got the book, read the book, completed it, changed their life. Two. Changed their life for the better.
What do you feel that told you, or what did that teach you?
That they weren't ready. Because I believe things come to you when you're ready. Yeah. It's like when you read a book the first time and then you read it again. Oh, wow, I didn't even get that the first time because you weren't ready. Like that book, I read it all the time. And every time a new revelation comes and I'm like, oh, yes, okay, It's the repetition of it. The repetition is what's going to get you what you need, but you have to do it daily, all the time. You have to be changing the thought patterns of your mind. That's the hardest thing to do. For me, that was the hardest thing that I ever had to do, was change the thought patterns of my mind into a positive way so that I can invoke an emotional connection and that feeling to allow that thing to manifest. That's the only way that will happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
And look where you are.
And look now. Yeah.
Just loving you.
Loving me.
Listen.
Truly.
And being the best version of yourself.
That's exactly what I like to say. The woman that I've worked to become, I am now the best version of me. Every day, I'm the best version of me. Tomorrow, I'm going to be a different version of me, but I'm the best version because I'm always growing and working to evolve to be that, right? And that's what's attracted me so much success in my life, from personal to work to whatever. It's because I constantly put what I desire, I became.
Yeah.
That's a word.
You were dropping gems and lines everywhere.
I was like, wait a minute.
Everywhere.
I became what I desired.
Yes.
It's a feeling, and that's what I had to learn. It's a feeling. You have to feel this thing into existence. You have to feel like you're a superstar before you become it. If you, I'm like my actors I have a acting academy called the Working Actors Academy. Yeah. The one thing I say to them is, don't ever say I'm an aspiring actor, because that's constantly future. You're constantly putting things out to happen later. An affirmation, be aspiring forever. You have to affirm yourself. I am. You can't say I'm going to. I have. It's I am. It's those powerful words of statements that you're saying, right? And the feeling that you put behind it, that's what's going to make that thing manifest. Not, well, I'm going to, eventually I will. Okay, well, eventually. It's always going to be in the future of eventually. But we don't really mean that. So that's why we have to be cognizant of our words and cognizant of what we say. And when I did that, it changed everything around me. I changed my speech. It changed, at the time, it changed everything I ate. I mean, I literally changed everything. And it made me the woman that I am now. And I love me because I don't have the self-esteem that's under my shoe, right? I don't look in the mirror and don't like what I look back. Yeah. I don't ever second guess about being dark skinned. I used to run from the sun and not want to be in it. I used to wear long sleeve shirts. I'm like, well, I don't want to get too dark. Let me put on extra sunscreen. I used to do all these different things because everything around me would show me and tell me that that's what beauty was. Not me. Beauty was everything that was opposite of me. But baby, once you put in the work and you put in the self-love and you have the self-discovery and you realize and know your power and you stand in your own melanin and you look in that mirror and you encourage yourself, my God, it doesn't matter. My mom used to always say, growing up to her, we always had girls around. And she used to always say, because she had 2 girls and then everybody loved my mom, right? And she used to always say, when you leave that mirror, you give yourself that stamp of approval. You don't need nobody to give you that stamp of approval.
Yeah.
You tell yourself, I look good. You tell yourself, I am beautiful. You feel good in whatever choices you've made to do with your hair, your makeup, your wardrobe. You tell yourself. You don't need a man to come in to make you feel better than because you didn't tell yourself. You have to validate yourself.
What an important lesson.
And I didn't even get it when I was a kid. You didn't even
get it. And now, and we grew up in an era where, we didn't have the influences of social media like they do now.
Oh my goodness.
So could you imagine how much validation people really need? So what a powerful message coming from your mother. Like, that's a gem.
That's a gem.
That's a gem.
And that's a gem. And that's what I had to learn is to validate myself. And so now I do. Now I do. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of who I am.
I'm proud of you too.
And I'm proud to be dark skinned.
Beautiful, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Do you see this skin? Do you? Now let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How does a small town girl get into acting?
Well,
how?
My parents would say I've been doing it my whole life, darling.
It's just who you are.
It's just who I am. I used to play what we like to call pretend as a kid with my cousins. We would watch movies, specifically The Last Dragon.
I love The Last Dragon. Hey, my man.
Yeah, what he look like? Hey, my man, what it look like? Exactly. We would watch this movie, and it was such an old movie for us. I don't even know how we found this movie. I don't know, but we loved it, okay? And we would reenact this movie. And at the time, I didn't know it was acting. It was just like we would get up and act the whole thing. Oh, you want to put on Last Dragon? It was like a game. Let's say pretend. We'd put it on and watch. Or we'd have a game where we'd watch stuff and be like, okay, let's see who's going to remember those lines. More verbatim than the other, right? So it'd be like, okay, go. No, you go first. No, you go first, And then we'd get up and act it out. And I don't know. But I didn't really get into acting until I graduated college. I graduated college with a degree in broadcast journalism, mass communication, and it was something that was always on me, hey, you should try this. Hey. It was like this little birdie on my shoulder. And I was trying to be a news reporter. I was sending out all my resume reels and, hey, this is me. And it wasn't until I decided to take an acting course. I was like, well, let me just try. I'm sending out my reels. Let's see what happens. I'm getting little nibbles here and there. But people are like, oh, we want you to have more experience. I'm like, I just got out of college. I don't have a lot of experience, but I'm really great. If you let me get on camera. And every time I got on camera, I interviewed at Fox and NBC affiliate stations. And they were always like, wow, you're so natural. You're so great on camera. And I'm like, oh, okay, great, thanks. And then one day I took this acting course and fell in love. Won 3 awards.
Wow, that is amazing.
Won 3 awards, and no one had ever won that amount of awards throughout this guy's course that he'd been doing for years. And I was like, oh, maybe we're on to something. And so he had another course that he put up. It was another class. It was like a cold read class, and I went and did that, and excelled in that. Won some more awards. And he was like, you got it, kid. I really think you should go to LA. Now, I already wanted to move to LA just because I came to Disneyland when I was 7 and I loved it. Came to Disneyland at 7 and was like, this is the most wonderful place on earth. I want to live here.
Heaven. Sure.
And I just always loved LA. So I wanted to move to LA. Had nothing to do with acting. I just wanted to go at least try LA because I remember the palm trees, I remember the weather, I remember the beauty of it, and I just wanted to be in that energy. And then I tried my hand at acting like 6 months before I left and did well. And then booked a short film and started I booked a play, booked all these different things. And it was like, maybe I should do it.
So how did you get with Tyler Perry? The Tyler Perry for The Oval.
Got it.
Congratulations on
Thank you. Another season!
Love it.
Thank you. Well, from there, that journey, I moved to LA, and then, as they say, the journey starts, and I had little nibbles here and there, but nothing was super consistent. Like, my waitress job was doing, like, promotions. Like, I would manage different promotions and stuff like that, and I would, every now and again, get these auditions for Tyler Perry. For The Have and Have-Nots, for If Loving You Is Wrong, for various movies, for all these different things, for various roles. And I'm like, well, they must like me because they keep calling me in, but I'm not getting the booking. I'd made it to producer sessions. I'd met him in person twice and still nothing. I auditioned for Tyler Perry 7 times.
What?
7 times. And then when I got the 8th audition, I didn't realize it at the time, but when I got the other audition, I was going through a very tumultuous time personally. I had a broken engagement and all these things, and so I was in a space of where I did not feel like being creative, and I did not want to learn lines to do an audition. And my agent called me, and she was like, they want to see you for this, and I was working like an hour away from the casting office, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. I've already booked out. They called for me 3 times to audition for this role, and I was like, okay, fine. She was like, just look at it like this, Taja. You'll book it, you'll love it, and you'll get a chance to go to Atlanta and do what you love. And I was like, okay, all right. So then that night, I was exhausted. I was tired. I felt like I was in a spiritual warfare battle, and I ended up falling asleep on the floor. Didn't read any lines. Woke up the next morning. It was 8 pages that I needed to learn to go to this audition at 11 a.m.
Oh my
So I got up at like 6, learned it, got ready, went in there, knocked it out the park, and was like, okay, well, I did it. Okay, great.
And it was yours.
And it was mine. And they called me back and they said, hey, you're one of the choices. They sent you to Tyler Perry. We just have to wait for his approval. And I was like, oh. And at that moment, something clicked to me. I said, oh, tell him to take his time. I'm already packed. I went home. I packed my bags for 5 days. Didn't know how long I was going to be going. I went and packed. But that was like my action step, my faith step to be like, this one's mine. Okay, Tyler Perry. I've auditioned for you 7 times, bro.
7.
What we doing? And I realized after the fact that 7 is the number of completion, 8 is the number of new beginnings.
Ooh.
And they called me back and they're like, okay, you're going to leave on like Thursday in like 2 days or something. I said, well, great, I'm already packed. And I went there for 5 days for like I packed, and that's when I booked Tyler Perry's Boo 2 of Medea's Halloween. Wow. And that was my first time working with him. And then from there, he was like, working on this show. I've got a spot for you. And I'm like, okay. But about 2 years passed because then he left OWN. He got with Viacom, which means BET and all this stuff. And then I got a call literally one day, and he's like, hey, I got a role for you. And I'm like, okay. And at the time, I auditioned for the First Lady, and because that's the role he had been courting me for. But then he ended up, the show took a turn. I didn't look old enough for the kids and stuff like that. And he was like, but I have this other role for you. She'll be great. Her name is Priscilla. And baby, I love me some Priscilla.
You resonated with her?
I resonated with her. I did, yeah. And so from there, that's how the journey began with being on a Tyler Perry TV show. I just got a call from Tyler Perry.
Well, I do have to talk about you've done many different things
Yes.
as you have told us.
Yes.
But we saw you on Insecure, didn't we?
Yes, you did.
Oh
Yes,
my
you
gosh. Can you just talk about that scene? Then I want us to just, you have to tell people what you're doing.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap.
Okay, cool beans. Well, interesting enough, I was in Brooklyn. On vacation with my boyfriend, and I get an audition to do Insecure. Now, Insecure, we all love this show, right? And I've always wanted to be on this show. I was like, okay, when I heard it was the 5th season, I was like, I have to get on this show. So I just put it out to the universe, like, hey, make that happen, and so it is. I always end every statement with, and so it is. That's the meaning of amen. And amen is great, but and so it is for me was a little bit more of a punch. And so that felt more final, like, and so it is, you got this. All right, move on. So when I got the audition, I was like, oh, this is gonna be fun. Now, at the time, my boyfriend had never helped me with an audition. And I'm like, so babe, here's what we about to do. So I'm like coaching him on how to help me with his audition, like read these lines. Okay, how I look, is the frame good? Okay, let me look at it. You know, we doing all of this. And so he's reading with me. Now the scene, because I'm in like 3 or 4 scenes in this episode, but the scene they gave me was the scene I just seen the girls, right? And they walk in and we like, ah, and we doing this whole thing. And so he's just reading it like, yeah, hey. I was like, oh no. So, babe, I'm gonna need a little bit more energy from you out of this. I know it's a girlfriend moment. I get you not a girl, clearly. But I'm gonna need you to give me just a little bit more energy. Yeah. And so he was like, okay. So then we started doing the read. And from there, I sent it in, we booked it, and when I got there, they were like, oh my God, we loved your tape. Your tape was amazing. We loved it. And so it was just for me, it was just a full circle moment because it was something I've always wanted to do, something I really worked toward manifesting. It came true, and it was a supreme success.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. So tell our audience about, because you're an entrepreneur on top of everything.
Yes.
Quickly tell them like just about what you got going on so we can support you.
Please. So 2 different things. One, I have an Actors Academy. It's called the Working Actors Academy, and it literally helps anyone who wants to understand the business side of acting. One thing I've learned in this business is that there are plenty of what I like to call career students. That those are people who just live in school and study, and that's great, but they don't book jobs. That's not the goal. The goal is to be a working actor. So Working Actors Academy is an online platform. You go at your own pace. There's 7 different modules. You sign up, you take it at your leisure, and when you come out of that, it will give you all the tools and the skill set that you need to be a successful working actor. We just got another guy yesterday hit me on Facebook like, thank you so much for this. This has helped me so much. I just booked this, and I was like, wow. So I always love getting great feedback from all of my students, but that's the workingactorsacademy.com. And then my latest baby is Taja Hair Growth Stimulant. I have hair growth products. Just being in this business, honestly, it's tough on your hair.
Yes.
Tough on your hair. It's a lot of heat on your hair. And so I end up developing a tonic and an oil. One's water-based, one's an oil-based. It's all natural products. It's for all hair types, literally 1A to 4C, super fine, the big, thick, coily, beautiful, thick, luscious hair. And it helps you regrow your hair. It's gonna help you fight against dandruff. It's gonna help with alopecia if you have alopecia problems. Really? It's helped my dad and other men with male pattern baldness. It's helped bald patches. It's helped like men with, receding hairlines get their hairline back strong. It is literally liquid gold. It's amazing.
Where can we get it?
TajHairGrowth.com. So all my stuff can be at TajaVSimpson.com. So just know my name, go to the website, everything's there. Okay.
Listen, thank you so much, girl.
Yes.
We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking with us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for speaking life into us, and just continue to do what you're doing. We're watching and we're rooting for you.
I appreciate you so much. Give me a hug. Bring it in.
Bring it in.
Thank you.
Until next time.